I'm going to welcome everybody, and it's so good to see you. And it's wonderful that this is the first time Greenfield has done a Kwanzaa celebration. And we're just thrilled at the response of people wanting to come. I want to thank our 3 Smith College students, Kelly, Olivia, and Wesley, and they're, I'm sure, somewhere, there's Wesley, and Kelly is somewhere close by, back there, and Olivia's at the table, the greeters table. They have been so wonderful at helping us to put this on. They did the beautiful flyer that we sent out for the announcement, and they're also here to help us make this a wonderful program. I also want to thank the generous donations from the Reparations Collective, Trap Rock Center for Peace and Justice, Alan Davis, and the Greenfield Savings Bank, Racial Justice Rising. And most of all, I want to thank Kim Walcott, her daughter and granddaughter, I believe, and Gloria Matlock, who spent many hours preparing the food that we're going to be able to enjoy. We are also thrilled to have Dr. Shabazz come once again to do our program. He's always been a loyal supporter of us. Gloria, I have to announce, has been first nominated, and now today they selected her the Human Rights Commission Person of the Year. Greenfield is so lucky to have Gloria here and to have her organizing 2 different programs, Twice As Smart, and I know she works with the Music of Franklin group. So, you know, we're just thrilled. She has put on and helped us organize many programs through the last 10 years. And our organization, Racial Justice Rising, has been in Greenfield for over 10 years. So I'm going to let Gloria come up and just tell you a few words about the Twice As Smart students and what they'll be doing today.
Hi everybody, welcome. Glad you all are here. Just want to quickly say that the Twice As Smart program originated about 6 years ago in my house, and we started because some of the students or children were not able to read or have an idea about math. They were a little, I guess, left out when it came to that. So we started out with like 7 students, and now we have about 25 students in the program, and we are located at the Second Congregational Church, and we work really hard so that the children could not just get tutorial experience, but also, you know, get to go to museums and other little things. They have a lot more opportunities with Twice As Smart to become more cultivated in their environment and in their neighborhood, so to speak. So at any rate, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. And so, Emily, what do I do next?
And I'll let you know, Kelly, one of our Smith College students, is going to introduce Dr. Shabazz.
Okay. I am here to introduce Dr. Shabazz, who's a professor at UMass Amherst and the author of an award-winning book. He commentates on contemporary issues and history in local, national, and international media, and is the former president of the National Council for Black Studies. He has taught all over the world and works toward reparative justice. Thank you, Dr. Shabazz.
Thank you for that warm introduction. Thank you, everyone out here this evening. I think we ought to give it up one more time. We were a little bit just kind of warming up, but one more time for Gloria Matlock. I am very happy to be here with you, to be a part of this kind of inaugural program of finding out what Kwanzaa is all about. And so I'm very happy to be here with you and the Twice as Smart children to begin to do that with you. I almost wasn't here. Going up to the attic and getting the Kwanzaa items from up in storage where they were brought such a flood of emotions. On September 11th, I lost my partner. She would always say, in all things good, Demetria Shabazz. And after more than 3 decades being together, and she really, really was my partner in the sharing of Kwanzaa and in our home, in our family, in our life, but also outward into the community. And so all of the implements and things, they were all put away from last year. And so as I'm bringing it down and getting it out, it just brought up so much for me that I didn't know that I could do it. But I then ended up finding something that was amongst the things that gave me the courage, gave me the determination, and we'll come to that in a little bit. But Kwanzaa, it's been very important for us. I'm going to ask someone, would you go to the back and ask them to put a little water in there? Thank you. What's your name?
Jamalette, she said.
Thank you, Jamalette. So, when Kwanzaa was first started, I was maybe about as small as, yes. I think I was that small. And I knew nothing about it. It started out on the West Coast in California in 1966. And I was living in Texas. And so there was no Kwanzaa in Texas. The first time in Texas where I grew up that I learned of Kwanzaa is when I was a college student at the University of Texas at Austin, and someone had moved into town from California and was inviting people to come over and to learn about Kwanzaa, just like we're doing here today, and to think about making it, learn about the principles and learn about the practice. And that was like in 1980, okay? And that's when I had read some things before then, but that was my first time to be a part of a communal practice with someone around Kwanzaa. And so then it has been, I've been on the journey about the last 43 years after that. But that's how it has grown. It has grown on a very communal level, familial level, word of mouth. It's now grown where it's in other countries. It's been on the U.S. Postage stamp has celebrated Kwanzaa. I mean, there's Kwanzaa all over. It's been lampooned in popular culture. I don't know, South Park or what's the little one with the longest running animated sitcom?
The Simpsons?
The Simpsons. I think it's even been lampooned. I don't know. It's been lampooned all kind of different places. Boondocks, if you know that animated series. So, it's in popular culture now. But what does it really mean? It's beyond the little jokes and stereotypical references. What does it really mean? And that's what I hope we can do a little bit of today. I will share some things from the founder. He is still alive. He started this up in 1966. It was in the aftermath of a huge urban explosion. I want to call it a riot. It was more of a rebellion in a section of Los Angeles called Watts. Watts blew up. There's been some police brutality issues, and the community didn't like what was happening, and things went sideways, and there was a lot of destruction. One of the largest kinds of urban explosions like that in U.S. history at the time. And Dr. Karinga, wanting to respond to that, had already been doing a lot of things in the community, but he really sort of stepped it up and began to promote Kwanzaa, and then it began to, and he became a real important force in California, and then even outward from there, he and his organizing, his philosophy, he developed a whole, Kwanzaa is connected to a philosophy. This man, by the way, he has like 3 PhDs. He's written 3 different dissertations. He's an ethicist. He studies ethics. He taught himself and learned many languages, but in particular, the ancient language of Kemet, or we refer to as Egypt, so that he could actually translate for himself some of the ancient papyri and ancient scrolls and documents. He's a brilliant scholar, still very active today, and I'm personal friends with him through the National Council for Black Studies, which was mentioned in my introduction. This organization was created in 1975 to advance academic excellence, social responsibility, cultural grounding around the cultures of African people all over the world. And so he's on our board. He's still on our board. He's been on our board for many years, and I'm on the same board, and I'm the immediate past president and now the treasurer of the organization. So we meet regularly, and it's always quite a joy to interact with him and to learn from him. He's traveled extensively in Africa as well, and one of the things that that Kwanzaa is predicated on is at the village level. In village society, the community goes out, they plant, they tend the crops, and then when it's harvest time, they go out and they bring the crops in. And if there has been drought or problems and there's no crops, or the crops are very low and not likely to feed all the people or feed them, it's a sad occasion. But when the crops come in really well, and it's a very joyous occasion. And so you would have these harvest celebrations, and he watched those in action, and he studied those. And it's on the basis of that he came up with the concept for a lot of this, and the word for a lot of this, Kwanzaa. It means first fruits, the first fruits of the harvest. So one of the things you will have on your Kwanzaa table, so to speak, is always going to be some fresh crops. And let me tell you, these were sent to me from, I'm still getting a lot of things from Demetrius passing, and so these are Harry and David, and they are very, very ripe. But they're symbolic of our first fruits here. It's an ingathering. It's meant to be a communal ingathering where the value and practice of ingathering of the people is first and foundational common aspect of African first fruit celebrations, which went into the development of Kwanzaa. Such an ingathering of the people is not just about the product of the harvest, but also the living human harvest. that is of the people themselves. When people come together, it's then about not just celebrating the harvest, but it's celebrating the people that they've pulled together through the whole season to make this happen for themselves. It is a kind of homecoming in the physical, communal, and cultural sense. People away come and return. If they've been living out in the city or wherever, they come back to the village. It's all ages, all faiths, all persons gather together in joyous celebration and practice of family, community, and culture. The first fruit celebrations are then a time for the ingathering of the people, of renewing and strengthening the bonds between them. I was recently reading, there's a study represented by the Surgeon General that notes that we have an epidemic of loneliness in this country. The bonds of social connection between folks is lower than it's ever been. Prior to the 1900s, when we were more of a rural people, the social connection was very clearly there. As things start to urbanize, and now we are in a situation where there are more people in big cities, 20,000, 80,000 and up, and is where most people in the United States live, then we begin to see where the social connections have begun to erode more and more, and there is a real crisis of loneliness. Kwanzaa then is about trying to build the social connectedness between people. And so it consists of this concept of the 7 principles that are marked by the 7 candles. And I think it's an interesting season for this, right? I grew up, my faith background is Catholic, and so we have during this very time what's called the season of Advent. And in the Catholic Church, we have 4 candles that are lit across the 4 weeks of the season of Advent before the celebration of Christ's birth with Christmas. We are right now in the 4th day of what? Of Hanukkah. Okay? And in fact, this is a very special one for me, and I'll be leaving here to go and to light a candle this with Rabbi and some friends, marking this being the 4th day, because it really emphasizes, if I am saying it right, tzedakah, the Hebrew word for justice, fairness, and charity. This 4th candle in Hanukkah reminds the people of one of the most important duties in Judaism, to help the needy, to help the poor. So this is the same day as that. And then toward the end of the month, the day after Christmas, those 7 days, we will begin yet another candle lighting oriented season, and that is the season of Kwanzaa. So let's talk then about the 7 principles, and I have some help, I think. Who's with me for Umoja? Just checking it out. I got a little bit more to share beforehand, but is Umoja ready? Yeah? Oh, it'll be all of us. So Umoja is the very first principle. So the day after Christmas, we come together in our Kwanzaa ceremony and we mark the first principle, which is in the middle of what is called the Kanara. Can you say that word with me, Kanara? Kanara is the candle holder. And the very first one then is Umoja. Can you say Umoja with me? Umoja. All right. And I think then to help us understand a little bit about that principle of Umoja, of unity, we've got some help. Does anyone want the mic? Or?
No, we don't need the mic.
Okay. Let's come together and share with the people what we know about Umoja. One more.
We are unity. Umoja, umoja. We are unity. Unity, yes, unity, yes. We are umoja. Unity, yes, unity, yes. We are umoja.
And of the candles then, it ties in with the colors of the African flag that was developed and popularized in the 1920s by a man named Marcus Garvey. Say Marcus Garvey? Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was from Jamaica. Anybody ever heard of Jamaica? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're not Jamaica, yes? Very good. I've been many a time. I've taught classes over there and taken students. Beautiful, beautiful little island. And Marcus Garvey came here, interestingly enough, he wanted to work with a man he'd read about who was one of the most well-known and well-read, published people. His work had been translated into different languages. A man named Booker T. Washington. Can we say Booker T. Washington?
Booker T. Washington.
He came in, he wanted to work, but Booker T. had just passed away in 1915, so he never got to meet Booker T. Washington. He wanted to study the Tuskegee Institute, learn from Booker T. Washington, and try to take that concept back to Jamaica to open a university in Jamaica that could serve the common people, the grassroots people, and but that never happened. He ended up staying on in New York City, in Harlem, and organizing something called the Universal Negro Improvement Association that ended up being one of the largest organizations of African people around the world working for the advancement of African people. So Marcus Garvey wanted the colors of a future independent United States of Africa to be the colors red, black, and green. And he taught that black was for the people of Africa. That red was for the sacrifices, the blood that has been shed in the struggle for freedom, in the struggle in the world. And green for the children, for the future, on their own land, free and independent. And you have to realize in the 20s, when he's organizing this, all of the African continent is colonized, with the exception of basically Ethiopia and more or less independent in Liberia. Only problems there too, and Sierra Leone. But for the most part, all of the countries in Africa are all colonies. They're all dominated, the economy, everything is dominated by the British, by the French, by the Portuguese, by Germany, by different countries taking over their resources, taking over their land. So it was all unfree. And then even if you look at other places in the world, African people suffering under colonialism. In Jamaica itself, in the 20s, it was a colony of Britain. There's no freedom there. Trinidad, all these places in the Caribbean. In the United States, of course, we were under our own form of apartheid, where we had no rights. We, African Americans here, could not vote. They are discriminated against. They are under separate but equal doctrine and can't live in certain places, can't do things, can't intermarry. We didn't stop intermarriage from being a crime until 1966 in the Loving versus Virginia decision. This is how bad it was in this country for African people. So everywhere, when Garvey is saying wanting to unite African people worldwide under the flag of the red, the black, and the green, it was to instill pride and to build unity. And that's then what it means. But then from that unity, what do we do? Where do we go? What is it about? It must be about self-determination. As he put it, as Dr. Karinga put it, to name ourselves, to speak for ourselves. These are the kind of qualities of self-determination. And so the word for it, and all these words, Moja, and the next one I'm going to give you, are from a language from East Africa called Kiswahili. And we say Kiswahili?
Kiswahili.
And this Kiswahili language is still spoken today. It's very popular it is a popular language in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania. They say it's spoken best in Tanzania, but that's a little bit of a regional thing. And some other countries. Kiswahili is very, very popular. And so this next one is a little hard because it's many, many syllables. I'm going to say it slow the first time. Kujichagulia. Kujichagulia. Can we say that? Oh, y'all are wonderful. Y'all are right. And here we're going to have some thoughts on Kujichagulia. Because what Kujichagulia is the second principle of the Impuza Saba means, it demands that we as an African people define, defend, and develop ourselves instead of allowing or encouraging others to do this for us. So, very popular thing in the 60s, for example, Malana Karinga, that's not his birth name, but he threw off the name that he was born with and took the name Malana Karinga to define himself to the world. Okay? I did the same thing. Name from my mother is Eric. The name from my father, my surname is Frank. Eric Frank. All people, I don't know, anybody ever heard of Keith Frank? No Zydeco lovers here? He's a very famous Zydeco artist, Keith Frank. The Frank family out of Louisiana, those are my people. But in the 80s, as I come along and learning about these things, the name Shabazz was placed on me. Amilcar Shabazz. Shabazz referencing El Hajj Malik Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, and Amilcar referencing Amilcar Cabral, who was a Cape Verdean that fought for the independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, of which his work had been translated into English in the 70s, and it got a hold of it, and it just changed my whole intellectual direction. So Amilcar Shabazz has been my name since the last 42, 43 years. So that is part of self-determination, naming ourselves, defining for ourselves who and what we are and what we wish for ourselves and for the future. The third is Ujima. Say that? Ujima. Ujima. You're going to have a fourth one that sounds similar, but Ujima is collective work and responsibility. Now, have something for us?
Ujima,
responsibilities, we kind of want to head to the door. But they're very important. You know, it's through our active and informed togetherness on matters of common interest that we struggle together, we make progress together, and we make what may seem impossible and unthinkable really come true. The GMA supports the fundamental assumption that Africa is not just an identity, but is also a destiny and a duty. It is a responsibility. In other words, our collective identity in the long run is a collective future. If Africa, and African people, and what that means is to have a future, it will only be through collective work and responsibility. And Kwanzaa is a part of that, and part of how we make that happen by the things that we share together and work together to do. And just the way you all have been rehearsing and working together, that's Ujima. That's Ujima in action, taking responsibility, learning the lines, learning the melody. You know, when somebody doesn't go off note and collective work, and everybody else is going work. You know, so you got to bring it in harmony. Y'all have done that beautifully. The second one, which I said sounds very similar, is Ujamaa. See it? Ujamaa. Okay? Here in the United States, because we're in Yankee land, everybody loves money, we say the bottom line is what? The dollar sign. So Ujamaa is about cooperative economics. It's about the fact that when we come together and we produce, there's a collective production there, a collective wealth. That means it's a commonwealth. And we must all benefit from that. So we've got a little something on Ujamaa. That wealth is socially produced and should be socially shared. Okay? We have people that have so very much, and it's nice, they give charitably. I was reading just today about the co-founder with Jeff Bezos of Amazon. They're now divorced, but she has given millions and millions to historically black colleges and universities to help them, you know, in their work and in doing better. And that's wonderful and lovely, and that's a start. But reparations means so much more, and it's something that we all must take part in and learn about, and maybe even right here in Greenfield begin a process of local reparations to look at the acts, an apology for how slavery was practiced in this area, and the acknowledgement of it, and the study and investigation of it, and see from there what are acts of atonement that can be done. So we move from Ujamaa, and these all kind of crisscross when we're lighting. So we started here, we go to Kujichagulia, we go to Ujima, we go to Ujamaa. Now, for our fifth, we go to Nia. Nia. Yeah, it is. It goes Nia, Kuuma, Imani. So we're almost done. But Nia. Okay. vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And it uses this symbol that Demetria would always use a lot because she really loved that idea of Nia, of purpose. And so we go from purpose then to the sixth, and the sixth is Kuumba. Kuumba. Say it one more time. Kuumba. They're going to tell you what it's all about. Added some movement to that. That's really beautiful. This is one of the more deeper ones for the Nguzo Saba. It really is about a commitment to being creative and to understanding there is both two qualities of creativity, and that is both as an original act and in a way kind of imitating the creator to create things original, but also it's a restorative act. It's how we rebuild and remake, repair and remake the world. The concept of that in Kemet was Serouj Ta. But we go from there then to the final candle, the final principle of the Nguzo Saba, and that is Imani. And it's important that we end with Imani. And we'll hear from now what Imani is all about. To believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. The ancient symbol, double symbol of the Ankh, which means life, and the Djed pillar, which means stability and endurance, serves here as the symbol of steadfastness in commitment to the good, the right, and the beautiful in life. It is essentially a profound and enduring belief in and commitment to all that is of value to us as a family, a community, a people, and a culture. And with this, there are a few kinds of activities we often do in the Kwanzaa practices in our home. And one is we'll have what's called Kikombe Cha Umoja. Kikombe Cha Umoja. That means cup of unity. And if you think about the cup is a container. It holds things together. If that water wasn't in this cup, it would be all out on the ground. but by being in a cup, it holds the water together. And so that is part of where it's called the Kikombe Cha Umoja. And we would then symbolically, everyone would pass the cup, would either act as to drink from it. We used to drink from it, but after COVID, we now just sort of hold it up to our mouths just symbolically. But it's there as we do the unity circle that each one would talk about whatever the principle is of that night. And then talk about, reflect on the past year and think about going forward. How are they going to express purpose? How are they going to enact a sense of purpose in their life? What does Imani mean for them in the coming year? And everybody, young and old, from the elders to the very young, gets a chance. Sometimes people will just kind of pass the cup and say thank you or what have you, but it's something to give. Again, in a family setting, you can really do this to have the Kikombe Cha Umoja. Finally, there's also, when we often start, we would start by acknowledging the ancestors. I did that at the beginning, acknowledging Demetria as now among our ancestors. But this is called Tambiko, and it consists of either pouring out of water on the ground or on a plant, in which each time as we pour out, we would name an ancestor in our family, in our life, someone who has gone on, and made the transition to the ancestral realm, that we want to invoke their memory. We want to invoke the power of remembrance of that person. And I've said some of our ancestors here tonight, like Marcus Garvey. And who else?
Booker T.
I said Booker T. Washington. We talked about Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. We could talk about others that are more local to us in our own community, such as the woman who was first to petition for her pension, for her back pay, when she had been enslaved in Medford by the royal, Isaac Royal, who went on to found Harvard College and Harvard Law School and gave of his wealth to build Harvard Law School. But then when he ran off to England because he was a loyalist and left them all back there in Boston and in Medford, and she was 70-something years old, had been enslaved in his household for all those years, and now is told, oh, you're free, and she's got nothing. She's got nowhere to live. She's got no money. She had a child with special needs, and she can't even work anymore, how old she was. So she asked, as they were liquidating all of his assets and all of his wealth and giving it to Harvard to build the law school, she said, hey, could you give a little bit over here to help a sister out with a child with special needs that can't work anymore and that worked all her life for this person as an enslaved person and got nothing that they could put aside for themselves? Can you please help me? Her name is Belinda, enslaved by Isaac Royal. I call her Belinda X because when she marked the petition that they helped her to tell her story, requesting those pension funds, some kind of pension for herself, she marked it with an X. So I call her Belinda X. So we remember Belinda from right here. We can remember Mumbet. Just saying some names of some of our ancestors from right here, who's someone even locally you all might want to remember.
Wally and Juanita.
Wally and Juanita. Could have passed on in the last year. Could have passed on 50 years ago. Someone else.
John Lewis.
John Lewis. Crossed that mighty Edmund Pettus Bridge for freedom and for the vote. So you begin to see how this is another part of the practices. And then from there, there's often there can be some eating. There definitely what we call karamu, or a feast. We'll eat together. We'll break bread together. And then people have often asked, well, what about gift giving? Well, it's coming after Christmas. So in some ways you kind of hope, well, they got all that out of our system. So there's not a big like thing about giving gifts. What we say is, in the gift giving, it can either be something you made. Maybe you drew a picture and you want to say, hey, you give this to mom, and you give this to dad. A picture you might have drawn, or a song you might have written, or a poem, but something you yourself can make. You can give that. Or the other thing is, you can give things that educate us and uplift us. So it might be books, and we call the gifts then zawadi. And so could be a recipe book, a book on recipes, could be something else. I'm going to be gifting to Gloria and to Racial Justice Rising a copy of my book, Advancing Democracy, just so if people ever want to, as a memento, as a remembrance of tonight and of today. So, that can be part of carrying on the tradition here in Greenfield. So with that, lots more that could be said. The Mkeka, some of the other things and why, what they're meant to symbolize. But I'd like to stop now and just open for questions, for dialogue, for conversation, and then wherever else we go next with the program. I think we might have a little Quran play, right?
So any questions? Well, Dr. Shabazz, you have given a great presentation. You got a question?
I am the black child, all of the world waits my coming, all of the earth matches with interest to see what I shall become. Civilization hangs in the balance what I am, the world of tomorrow will be. I am the black child, you have brought me into this world, about which I know nothing. You hold in your hand my destiny, you determine whether I shall succeed or fail. Give me a world where I can walk tall and proud. Train me to love myself and my people, to build and maintain a great nation.
Beautiful, beautiful reading. Wow. That's another thing you can often do. Share your own poetry, share poetry written by others, and I'll just give you one other poem, one that I just like, and I'm going to ask Gloria to come in, and I'll read one, and then you read one. Still I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise.
Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room?
Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise.
Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries?
Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard.
You may school me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your I don't have my glasses. Hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise.
Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? That's y'all know who this is? That was her, right? That's all night.
Out of the butts of history, shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted, I'm pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide.
Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wonderfully clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Hiya, Angela. I'm done, y'all. Thank you so much.